work in progress, a human being, strengths, challenges, and everything in between. The physical closeness part is affection. It's not sex. You can add sex to affection like you can add dessert to dinner, but it's affection. It's the human need for touch, for closeness. And that when people don't get those needs met, there are significant signs of deprivation. So, and some of those signs of deprivation are a sense of, it starts with a sense of disease. And that sense of disease actually becomes disease in the body. What begins as just a discomfort, a knot in our stomach, feelings of anxiety or things that go with that, actually turns into disease. Because all that energy inside us is very powerful. It leads to distress, distrust, a general state of unhappiness, feelings of pain, anticipation of danger, which can show up as fear and anger. And that while we spend a lot of time treating the symptoms of that and seeing the symptoms of that, what underlies it is not getting our basic needs met. When we are able to get our needs met, when we can create a life where we can get our basic needs met, air, food, water, shelter, bonding, we can take life on with a sense of ease, with eustress, the runner's high, last push that enables you to get through those challenges, that shot of adrenaline. We have trust, happiness, the anticipation of pleasure, which is what gives rise to feelings of love. And I said yes. I said yesterday that although many people, almost everybody, all cultures talk about love, when it comes to the emotion of love, it's important to know where it comes from. That the emotion of love, the feeling of love, comes from the anticipation of pleasure. That when we anticipate pleasure in our interactions with another person, there's a desire to have more of that, and that leads to the feelings of love. And if instead of anticipating pleasure in our interactions, we anticipate pain, the relationship may be there, commitment may be there, the contract may be there, but feelings of love are not likely to be there. And that doesn't mean there's necessarily anything wrong, because once we understand where feelings of love come from, as you'll discover today, we have enormous influence over creating an environment in which love can be present and can grow and continue to thrive. If we don't understand that, it's sort of like, walking around in a dark room, sort of all clumsy, trying to figure out our way around. But it's important to know where that comes from. So, some of the symptoms of being on the pain side of that road now: illness, fatigue, depression. We're more likely to be rigid, constricted, guarded, isolated, wary, closed off from other people. And it's where we found in our work, and many others too, that the whole range of what people consider antisocial behaviors comes from. Because people don't like to be in pain. Nobody likes to be in pain. We weren't made that way, so we find our ways to not feel it. And that can become the problem. The ways that we try to cover up the pain of deprivation of needs that we may not have even known we had. The drugs, the alcohol, the gambling, the shopping, the food, whatever it is, that can become the problem. But that's not what caused it. It's a symptom of what's underneath. When we're on the pleasure side of that roadmap, we see we have greater health, energy, vitality, well-being, flexibility. We're much better able to access our neocortex, where we can be creative and think through solutions about how to make our dreams come true. We're more likely to be open, to share with other people, to trust people, to be responsible for ourselves, not from a place of expecting that we're not human, or that we always get everything right, but from knowing it's totally fine to be human beings. And not only is there nothing wrong with being a work in progress, it's a great place to be. And from that place, we can have real intimacy. When we can really allow another person to see us, and we can accept us for who we are, we can accept other people for who they are. But if we're walking around beating ourselves up for whatever reason, then we're probably beating other people up too, at least internally. So the goal of the work we do is, if we're on the pain side of that roadmap, how do we get to the other side? Because life is too precious to be there. And if we're on the pleasure side, how can we give ourselves the very best chance to spend as much of our lives there as possible? Because that is the place from where dreams become true. Does that make sense? Because that's the key concept that underlines what we're doing. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, concepts are just concepts. They're great, interesting to understand, but the big question is, what do you do? And 90% of today is about what you do. But I wanted to make sure everyone understands the goal of what we do. And that's the goal of what we do. Any questions?